Welcome to the Apex Insider Podcast, the Bahrain Grand Prix betting preview show. This is F1 Capper. I am running solo today as we have a few of our guys out. I did want to get something out to everyone before the race. I will just be giving you my quick insights. So I'll give you a little bit of the track and what to expect, and talk about some of the teams, and then go through some bets, potential bets, ones that I may or may not have placed, and then talk about GridRival Pick Ems. So I do have a few plays that I'm kind of interested in. So yeah, let's just quickly dive into it. So this is the Bahrain Grand Prix in the Shakir circuit. So we're talking about 15 corners, 4 straights. So there could be more overtaking, I believe 2 DRS zones. We are finally entering a track where the surface is going to be very, very critical to everyone's tires. So we are expecting to see the hardest compounds again. I believe last year a lot of the drivers were using the soft compounds and the hard compounds. And reason for that is there wasn't really much of a pace gain by going to the mediums. Even though that the softs last less, you still can achieve more time with the softs, either at the beginning or the end when you have low fuel. So a lot of the teams opt for that as well. But the hards are definitely going to be in play for this weekend. So a key thing is the tire stress here, rear limited track. So a lot of it is about rear grip. So yeah, it's a lot of more low speed corners. I know we were here for testing, and we saw a lot of I guess you could say different things happening in testing, although it is testing at the end of the day. But traction is going to be key here. Again, going back to tires, this is going to be one of the most abrasive surfaces on the calendar. So things to think about are the rookies. The rookies have been lucky enough for the first 3 races to be on tracks where it's been pretty low abrasive. I mean, I know in China and Japan, especially Japan, they've talked about it being tire shredders, but with the new resurfacing, it kind of made it easier for all the drivers to be able to maintain tires. But this is going to be a little bit more challenging. This is going to be a test for the rookies. I expect that most teams are going to use medium downforce. Maybe some use even a little bit lower downforce because there's a lot of the straights here. But yeah, we got a pretty big one going in this weekend. So pretty excited to finally see something a little bit more traditional. Hopefully we see more overtaking again, braking zones. That helps with overtaking. We didn't really get to see that, especially in this last race. It seemed like it was Monaco light, but yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the teams, and I'll focus a little bit on the top teams. Not going to really beat a dead horse about McLaren. As we all know, they are just widely clear away from everyone else when it comes to their balance, their setup. So they're expected to do fine here. One key thing, though, I did see a post about this. It was about the front wing angle, or the front wing in general, and how McLaren has it set up. So they do rely heavily on their front wing. And I think Maxwell had posted that tweet about it, which it's showing the true what's impact of what happens with McLaren. So when they're fighting cars from behind and there's dirty air, that's where they start to slip and slide a little bit when it gets to them trying to overtake. So I know we've had some little bit of a challenge last race with any overtaking overall, but that just kind of came to fruition because the entire time Norris was trying to catch up, but he couldn't. He had to be in clean air. That car does have quite a limitation when it comes to that. So why I'm bringing that up is just assuming something happens, Norris, gets into, somehow is just in P4, P5, and he has to fight his way through up. It's not going to be as easy as people think. It just depends on the track too. So it's something that can really hinder their race when it gets to that. So they have to really qualify high to be, 1-2 to be able to say they're going to run away with it. So Uh, that's a big reason why I'm bringing that up. But yeah, McLaren overall still the team to beat. They're not going to be the ones that um, hopefully not suffer with their car. But yeah, so Ferrari, they are trying to bring some upgrade. I think it was confirmed today that they are going to actually bring their upgrade to the floor. I'm very interested to see how that turns out. There's been kind of mixed signals about that actually going into this weekend. I think there was some aerophysicists that were recommending not to do it so soon because they wanted to do a little bit more testing before they did it. But I think they came to the conclusion that they're gonna put it. So what does that mean? It could mean two things. It can either work really well for them and they find correlation into their and be able to set up their car the way they want to get it set up, or it doesn't work out as well and they still are either in the same spot, or maybe they can lose time on it. We don't know. I don't expect them to lose time, but it really is going to go to seeing how they do in FP. Like, how are they going to set up the car with this new floor? Do they feel comfortable? Does it feel like they have balance? So that's going to be very interesting what to see with them. Mercedes, I mean, pretty solid. I mean, overall, they seem to have found a balance in their car for any track at this point. They did end up in fifth spot as their best spot, fifth and sixth actually, which isn't like terrible, but it also was a little bit of underachievement. I think it goes back to qualifying. They something happened at the last stint where they couldn't get their tires up to temps. Could have been cooler weather and something like that, but they just again, I think it goes back to the track and how it's laid out and how it was just much more challenging for any driver to be able to overtake. And when you have a one stop, you don't really have the strategy to fall behind when you want to try to get ahead of any driver. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate situation. Although we did see towards the end of their second stint, both actually Kimi was doing a lot better than Russell, but that's because Russell had pit earlier. And I think also Kimi was on mediums, I believe. Maybe. I couldn't remember. No, that was Hamilton. So anyways, yeah, so Mercedes didn't really get the opportunity to overtake. However, I still think that they are the third best team, second best team even on the grid. I know that we saw Max, he had his win. Really, really believe Max just, Max being Max, he put it in P1, and free air was his, that was his ally the entire race. I mean, if he didn't have that, he probably would not be, he wouldn't have won that race easily. He would have been behind and maybe even third spot for all we know. So yeah, with Red Bull, still very mixed on what they're doing. They are finding some improvements. Don't know what to really expect from them this weekend. Seems like that they're still, working on how do they get, the right setup and balance, not just for qualifying, but also for the race. So I am very interested to see how Red Bull plays out here because they did struggle a little bit with their tire degradation. So that's going to be something to pay attention to. How I kind of see it shape out, probably going to be McLaren. I really still think Mercedes is going to do what they can to put it up there. They just seem to have something there with their car that they like in keeping the setup. And then also Kimi is really impressing at the moment. So as a team, they're looking pretty sharp. Red Bull, I'm not going to even get into the Yuki thing, so I don't know what to really expect from him. So that's how I see that playing out. So as for the midfield, I think this is where I wanted to really try to focus a little bit more of my attention on. So you have Aston Martin, Haas, Williams, and V-Carb in Alpine. I'm going to start with Alpine just because I think this is the race where they will not succeed. I think that if anything, they could even be the worst. Well, not outside of Sauber being the worst. They could potentially be behind Haas, Aston Martin. It's very, very possible. Williams, V-Carb. I think the biggest reason for that is, a lot of it has to do with their traction right now, and I think some of the feedback that and things I'm seeing is, they just don't have good traction getting out of specific slow turns. So, and this track has a lot of slow cornering. So getting traction out of the exits where the wheel is spinning, that's not actually good here. And not only that, if your wheels are spinning, you're also wrecking your tires too. So a lot of it has to do with their lack of traction in slow speed cornering, and that seems to be a big issue with them. Some of their front end grip is also kind of a problem as well, so that doesn't bode well in a track like this. So I think just because of that, I'm starting to fade Alpine overall. So Gasly is, I mean, right now on Grid Rival, they have him positioned for quali at like 12 and a half. That is definitely something I would be considering to go worse at, just because of the lack of that traction that to get out of the corners, and in the entry to it too. Seems like if they don't have the grip to get the front end, they're just going to be sliding and they're going to be losing time most of it throughout the entire track. So yeah, so I wanted to first focus on them, and then I can talk a little bit about the other teams and what we can possibly see. So let me start with Aston Martin. I think some of the input that I've seen was lack of traction as well in slow speed cornering. So it's they do have a car that can have some pretty good top speed on the straights, so that's probably where they have their opportunity. But they also are struggling a little bit when it comes to slow speed cornering. They still have some wheel spin on the exits. I believe it was like turn 4 in Australia where they really had problems with that. If I had to put it, they would probably be ahead of Haas, but fighting with Haas probably at that point. And when I say this, like, it's going to be very, very close margins. I'm not meaning like it's going to be wide margins between all these teams. Like Alpine, I'm saying they're going to be the worst out of the bunch. But they still might be close. So it still also depends on, can they nail it in qualifying and be ahead enough? And then I'm not sure if they're actually going to do a 2-stop this race. It's sounding like it's a potential 1-stopper again, but we'll see. But if it is a 2-stopper, then that presents opportunity for like Aston to be ahead of an Alpine. So yeah, they don't look like they can get it to that top 10. Haas, they showed some really good promise. They brought some minor update without even doing testing, and it really did show that they can bring some stability on the high speed cornering. However, I think you should take that with a grain of salt, because during the race, I did notice they weren't really keeping up with pace with the top teams, at least. They just were not really there when it came to it. They just got lucky that they had a good sector 1, and then after that it was kind of a drop off for them throughout the track. So I think that's might be still an issue for them. So I still think that they're going to be below a Williams and V-Carb. And yes, so I did want to say Williams, I am very bullish on here. Obviously testing showed that they can really have a car. They just seem to have a car that is well balanced and is made for more of the slow medium corners. That's where they showed some of their strengths. I think China turns 1 and 4. They were really doing very strong with it. I know Sainz has been very inconsistent. However, at this track, this is more suitable to Sainz's. This is his driving style at this track, where he likes to have a more understeer car. That's just the way he's always been. Late braking, so like when you have to get hard on the brakes, point the car and go. Like, he can do that, and that's something that he normally has a strength in. So I think the only question mark is, can he be comfortable in the car? So, going back to my Grid Rivals, I mean, they have him set up as 11 and a half. He actually could have probably been in the top 10 if he would have qualified in that Q3 in Q2. But yeah, I think that overall, I can see Williams being ahead of V carb in this race. Also because Hajar, even though he's been very, very good, again, how is he going to do at a track like this when tire degradation is going to be very, very critical? So we'll see. But yeah, V carb, I think they still had some problems when it came to slow speed cornering. It seemed like there was some understeer issues that they were having through some of these traction zones. But if I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, I'm going to be putting mine Williams over V carb. But again, I haven't done any of these plays. So let's just dive into quickly what the odds are telling us. So as of right now, what's happening is FP1 is becoming a rookie driving session. So let me just quickly tell y'all what the update junior driver participation is for FP1. So we got Hirakawa. I'm butchering that. He is replacing Oliver Behrman. Dino Bejanovic is replacing Charles Leclerc. Vesti is going to be replacing Russell. Dragovic is going to be replacing Alonso for the Aston Martin. Browning is going to be replacing Carlos Sainz for the Williams. And Iwata is going to be replacing Max. So what does that mean? That means that FP1 will present some potential opportunities. Specifically, both McLarens are still on the grid, while the other top teams have their top drivers out. So there's definitely going to be an advantage for you to take possibly McLaren for a win. You could try to sprinkle some long shots. I mean, track evolution is going to be quite high here. I think when you start off at this track, you're going to have a lot of sand. It's going to be a lot of sand. It's still going to be super green. So the track evolution is still going to take some time to go through. And on top of that, the surface is going to be quite hot. It's going to still be while the sun is out. So that's where your opportunity is. I think that's what we've all been discussing in the Discord is how we plan to attack that when it comes to the drivers. So I wouldn't shy away from like a stroll to potentially get in the top 3, top 6 if MGM puts any kind of odds up there. Stroll or anyone else, like, just depends on the odds. Right now I don't see any, so unfortunately I can't tell you like exactly what to take. But right now DraftKings does have the free practice winner with McLaren as the drivers, the winning cars, at -120. So if you feel frisky and you want to do it, that's the opportunity for you to take it. We did talk about the free practice fastest speed that DraftKings is offering. So two of the teams that we were eyeing were Racing Bulls and Ferrari at 14-1 and 16-1. I think that's quite long. So they probably won't hit it, but it is something that it has some opportunity in there. I know Racing Bulls typically will have their power units up a little bit more than others. And again, going back to the others, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, they tend to turn theirs down, but it's kind of crazy to me. Ferrari does have pretty good top speed, so 16-1, you just never know what can happen, especially as the track is evolving. You just never know who sticks it in there, and Hamilton's still going to be driving, so potential for that. I personally have been trying to get this. I think they're starting to offer it, but the margin for FP1 is a real solid play if you do the over 2/10. I think MGM offers it at like 0.251 or higher. I think the better odds is not through MGM. I think it is going to be through Bet365, where you can get the winning margin for the free practice one, which I'm trying to get to right now, which is the only thing that they're offering. Actually, it's already moved. It was at plus 137, but now it's at plus 110. So your opportunity is to take that over to, just because, one, you have the rookie drivers that eliminates variables. These are a bunch of guys. So we've got a lot of the top drivers out. So putting in a strong pace, that's definitely not going to be there. So you kind of remove that variable. And then two, the track evolution is going to be quite high. FP1 could be a lot of testing. You just never know what's going to happen. it's kind of hard to see that you're going to have, usually when you have under zero point 0.1 seconds, it's usually because the teammate is right there up close with you. They have kind of similar pace. So I do really like that margin over 0.2. Let me check to see what, and it's plus 160 on MGM for 0.251 seconds or more. So if you feel like you want to get frisky with that you can do that. They also offer 0.251 up to 0.5, which I don't think is actually bad to take at plus 250. So I think the margin is definitely in play there for the race. So let's talk about some of the other plays that could be potential. I'm not seeing a whole lot right now in terms of qualifying that I like. I think you just got to pick your poison on who you want to back this week when it comes to the McLaren boys. Are you feeling it if it's Lando? Are you feeling it if it's Piastri? I will admit, if Lando ever gets back to a plus 180 or even touches 2-1, I am definitely taking him on. Piastri, though, at plus 225, I think is on Bovada. It's actually not a bad play on Bovada, and I believe that is also on Bet365. Let me check here very quickly. Plus 250, which is not bad, considering that he is still close to his teammate, but still believe it's Lando's to lose, but you never know. So that is one play that would be looking. If you're looking for a long shot, unfortunately, George Russell was the only one I would really truly consider in this situation. 11-1, I think, is not terrible, but it's not great. If you really want to play with it, I still think you could probably get better live betting odds just as the session goes, unless he is really just on it the entire weekend. So something you could consider. So yeah, I think that there's some opportunity that we'll get to. As far as play that I'm actually probably going to do, which can't say that I'm running to it yet, but the odds are definitely there, is Charles Leclerc top 3. His odds are sitting at 3-1 on most places. So XBet being one, I think DraftKings is another. Other places are offering it at plus 250. I think when you're in the 3-1 territory, that's definitely a play for Leclerc. Throughout the year, I mean, he's been in 4th, 5th. Like he just needs to basically beat the Mercedes, and Red Bull. But for 3-1, I don't think that's a bad play. I don't expect it to be like to hit it. It's more of a play on. He's definitely got the talent to be able to put it in there in top 3 at 3-1. That is definitely good odds. I don't see it going any longer, especially if he puts it in P4, P5 for qualifying. If he would have to really, really have a bad like weekend to be able to go longer than that. So 3-1 is actually good. I don't see it getting worse. I only see it getting shorter at that point. So that's a big reason why I would call that out. And again, unit size it appropriately. I would not be putting like 2 units or unit and a half even on that. It is just something that at 3-1 you can throw less than a unit, between 0.5 up to a unit, and it's still pretty good odds that you're getting from it. Classified markets, I know that I think the average, when I look back for the past 10 races, we saw like an average of 2.1 DNFs. Right now, the market, I think DK has the race prop at minus 125 over 18.5. It actually went up $5 basically on that, while the under is at minus 110. I think other spots are actually putting it, they're juicing it to the over at like minus 150. That is definitely something where reliability is better, why I'm feeling this is going to be contrarian and thinking it's going to be under is just because we have a bunch of rookies now on the grid, which is like 25% of the grid. And then we're at a track where they're finally going to actually have to race hard with these tires, and seeing how, it could get messy if you don't take care of your tires. This is really going to test them. So outside of chaos of turn one, there is potential that we could see more than just two drivers DNF. So I am kind of leaning the under. I just don't care for the odds of where it's at. I'd rather see it get juiced up more. I know that most people will probably be on the over. For me, it's going to be under or no play at all. So that's just going to be my play. So I am definitely going to be eyeing that under 18.5. But it just, again, depends on the odds. If I can get something pretty decent, I think I'm going to take it on just because of that. However, I'm not running to it just yet. I'm going to be very patient. I'm going to let the weekend kind of play out. Probably could swing to the under if we do see some DNFs or red flags or anything, but I don't suspect we will. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I think for last classified, I know a lot of you guys like the last classified market. I'm going to say, let me get to one here that everyone has. Honestly, Ocon 16-1 is a pretty good long shot. I think that is a pretty solid long shot, actually. I don't know how well he will do here. I still think that this is probably Duhan as the last classified if he doesn't wreck out. So that is, I would say, out of all these, without chalking, if I'm looking at a long shot, Ocon 16-1 is pretty solid. I would be eyeing that one over the others. Would not surprise me to see, Haas or Ocon just be at the bottom of the barrel with that. So yeah, I think that is a pretty good one. And to talk about GridRival. So GridRival is, I'm going to say, one of our great friends. They've actually been paying me pretty well this year, so it's been fun playing Pick Ems with them. So I am kind of fire off on some of the ones that I like. I actually do have a few. Actually, I won't use that one because that was a promo. So GridRival, if you have the app, again, use our promo code Apex. Use the link below. You get 100% deposit match. Doesn't matter if tariffs are going to be taking over the world. You will still get that 100% deposit match. And they'll throw out some pretty good stuff. Like they threw out yesterday for an hour. Lando's, I think it was qualifying position, was 3.5, which is not bad to take the better. So we did try to get on that. I think some guys actually had Leclerc, which I didn't see. But let's kind of go through it. The ones that we're eyeing, I do like Gasly as worse, and it goes back to, I think Alpine is going to struggle a little bit here. They just do not have the traction that they had at the other tracks. This is going to be a little bit different for them. The abrasive surface, it's just all not set up for them to do well. With that being said, there could be some correlation. Maybe you see a Lance Stroll at 15.5. I think that might be a little too low. I know last week I was banging my hand on the table saying Stroll is not going to do well in Japan for reasons that he just doesn't like the track. But he could probably recover. He probably could just get right in the 15th spot. He should get into the 15th spot. So having him at like better 15.5, I think that's a play. Carlos Sainz already moved. He was at 11.5. He's now sitting at 11. I think he could still get into that 10 spot. Obviously, if he was like a 12 or 12.5, I'd be all over the better on that one. But I do expect Williams to do much better. I do expect just Sainz himself to do better than 11 in qualifying. So yeah, I think those were some of the plays that I really were eyeing. I think with some of the matchups too, One of the matchups that I thought was very, very interesting was, I think it was Hulkenberg Behrman. So 4.5. Again, going back to Haas just struggling a little bit here. I think that Behrman is set at 12.5 qualifying. He did kind of have some fortunate situations to get out and into Q2. So I believe, or even Q1, I believe Behrman will not repeat this here. I think that he will, at best, he might end up, 13th. So Hulkenberg, typically, you don't know what you're going to get out of the Sauber, but it would not surprise me if he somehow finds his pace and gets it into, P16. Maybe not doesn't get out, but that's all he would really need to get to. With Behrman, obviously, you're just hoping that even if he stays at the 12th spot, you hit that 4.5. So, yeah, I think that is in play for matchups. For another, I'm still kind of back and forth on Kimi over, or I'm sorry, Albon over Kimi at +3.5. So Albon 3.5 spots to Kimi. Seems very interesting. I don't want to be drinking the Kool-Aid just yet, but I do believe that he could possibly be in that top 8 potentially. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, very, very quick one by myself. I appreciate anyone that's listening. Get into the Discord. Obviously, the books are going to be posting more free practice Fridays, or I'm sorry, free practice plays for Free Money Friday. So look out for it. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you this weekend.